Hey there, this is another video from my Intro Calc students, and this time we're going to be doing another example for lesson 4. In case you're kind of counting now, this is probably my third video for lesson 4. So yeah, this is a fairly important lesson for the course. And if you were getting sick of doing parabolas, here's one that is very definitely not a parabola, right? It is a y equals 1 over 1 minus x. Now remember what kind of graphs you get when you have 1 over x? You get, you get this guy right here, right? You get a, remember that a y equals 1 over x graph looks like that, right? The purple one. So the fact that there's a negative on the x flips the arms to their opposite sides, and it shifts 1 unit over to the right. So there we go. That's that. And we actually want to know what the tangent's slope is right here at x is 2. And let me show you that something that you can do to save yourself a little bit of work when you're doing your homework. As these equations get bigger and more complicated, you do realize that if you just label the point, it'll tell you what f of 2 actually is. Actually, you could even just type in, hey, what's f of 2? And it'll just tell you. So Desmos is a very good calculator when you need it to be. Cool. Let's do the algebra. So I'm asking you to do this using both formulas, which means that we're going to start, I guess, with this one. The formula 1 is the limit as x approaches a of f of x minus f of a all over x minus a. And I just found out that, of course, if a is 2, that f of a, that's how good my memory is. Oh, wait, it's negative 1. Duh, I can just do that in my head. So f of a is like saying f of 2, which is negative 1. So that's all I need to do this formula. So I want the limit as x approaches 2 of 1 over 1 minus x, right? That's f of x. That's this part right here. There it is. Minus f of a, which is just, well, I know f of a is, in fact, negative 1. All over x minus a, which is minus 2. So if I plug in 2, I get division by 0. Oh, let's make that go away. That's in the way. Sorry, I just noticed that. If I plug in the 2 right now, I get division by 0, which I don't want. So let me first of all tidy this up. This is the limit as x approaches 2. Watch out for the minus, a negative here, so that's 1 over 1 minus x plus 1 all over x minus 2. Okay, what can I do with this? So I'm reaching into my toolbox of algebraic strategies to try to think of a way that I'm going to somehow make this look different so that I can eventually get to the point where I can cancel the x minus 2. Well, can't think of anything off the top of my head other than this is like a fraction plus a whole number. I think I'd like it to make it so that I can actually combine these two things. So I'm going to rewrite this 1. I'm going to rewrite the 1 as this. Right? Do you get how that's a 1? Right? This divided by itself is 1, so the 1 here is now that. And now that I have a common denominator, I can express this as 1 plus 1 minus x all over 1 minus x, right? The common denominator means I can combine these two numerators, and I did. And so let's simplify that some more. That's the limit as x approaches 2 of 1 plus 1, so that's 2 minus x all over 1 minus x all over x minus 2. Now, here's what I notice. I notice that, well, first of all, this numerator and this denominator would be the same if I factored negative 1 out of the numerator. So I'm actually going to do that. So that's the limit as x approaches 2, and if I factor a negative 1 out of there, I get x minus 2 all over 1 minus x. And while I'm at it, remember when you're in fractions and you divide by something, remember this does have a denominator of 1. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of this fraction. So I'm going to times by 1 over x minus 2, and lo and behold, those two things cancel, and I now get that that's the limit as x approaches 2 of -1 over 1 minus x. And now I can put 2 in the denominator, and I don't get 0 anymore. So that's going to be equal to -1 over 1 minus 2, which is -1 over -1, which is 1. So that is my slope. It is 1. Okay? So let's try the other formula now. So that was formula 1. Yep. Notice I'm using lined paper for this one because this one's kind of complicated. So now using formula 2. And formula 2 is, of course, the limit as h approaches 0 of f of a plus h minus f of a all over h. And just to summarize my information again, a is actually 2, f of a is -1, and of course f of x itself is 1 over 1 minus x. So that's all the information I need to make that formula happen. So it's the limit as h approaches 0 of f of a plus h. So if a is 2, I have h plus 2. So that's f of h plus 2. And here's f of x. So that's 1 over 1 minus x plus 2. Or sorry, x. What am I doing? X. H. Sorry, h plus 2. There we go. Sorry. A plus h, and a is 2, so that's h plus 2. If you were to put 2 plus h, it's the same thing. Minus f of a, which we already know is -1, and that is all over h. Okay, what am I going to do with this mess? Well, once again, I can tidy this up a little bit. I can get rid of that bracket there by just going 1 minus h minus 2, which is 1 over -h minus 1. And then minus -1 is just plus 1, so I'll just simplify that a bit. And okay, what can we do with that? Well, I am again going to use the same trick I did kind of in the last version of this question. I'm going to change this 1 into something that is this common denominator, so that's the limit as h approaches 0 of 1 over -h minus 1 plus -h minus 1 over -h minus 1. Remember, this is 1. So that's a common denominator. So now I have the limit as h approaches 0 of 1, I'll say plus minus, but I'll just say minus h minus 1 all over -h minus 1. And again, why don't I, while I'm at it, instead of dividing by h, times by the reciprocal of h. And can you see what's about to happen? Those two constants there cancel each other. So I have the limit as h approaches 0 of -h over -h minus 1 times 1 over h. Those h's cancel, but the negative is still left behind. Don't lose that. So that's the limit as h approaches 0 of -1 over -h minus 1. And now I can plug in 0 for h, and I don't end up dividing by 0. I get -1 over minus 0, which is just 0, minus 1, which is -1 over -1, which is 1. So now that you've seen a couple of examples with both formulas, which one do you like better? There are some questions in your homework where it doesn't tell you which formula to use, so you can use whichever one you like. But there are some where it actually says use both, and when I do assess you on this, I will make sure that you can use both formulas. So happy homework.